The afternoon sun hung low in the sky as a small boy named Liam stood trembling on the porch of a grand countryside house. His tiny fingers clutched two battered suitcases so tightly his knuckles turned white. Tears carved clean streaks down his dusty cheeks as a woman's sharp voice cut through the air like a whip. "Go on, get out," Clarissa snapped, her perfectly manicured hand pointing toward the dirt road. Liam's bottom lip quivered as he turned back one last time, his hopeful eyes searching the windows. Maybe, just maybe, she'd change her mind. But Clarissa's face remained hard as stone. "You don't belong here," she hissed. "Go back to your grandmother. This isn't your home anymore." And with that, the heavy wooden door slammed shut behind him. But it hadn't always been this way. 2 years earlier, Liam's world had been full of laughter and love. His mother's passing had left a hole in his heart, but his grandmother's cozy cottage became his safe haven. And then there was his father, Daniel Hartwell, a kind-eyed businessman who would sweep into town with arms full of gifts and stories from faraway places. Liam would often sneak away from Grandma's house, walking miles just to surprise his dad. Daniel would always scoop him up with a booming laugh. "My boy, you came to see me again." Those visits were the brightest moments of Liam's life. Everything changed when Daniel went away on a long business trip. He left Clarissa, his new girlfriend, in charge of the house. At first, she had smiled sweetly, patting Liam's head in front of Daniel. But the moment his father's car disappeared down the road, her smile vanished too. "Don't touch anything," she'd snap whenever Liam reached for a toy. "Eat in the kitchen, not at the table." Worst of all, she refused to let him into his father's room, where he used to wait for him, surrounded by Daniel's comforting scent of leather and sandalwood. One lonely morning, Liam could take it no longer. He packed his little suitcase with his few treasures, a photograph of his mother, the wooden train his father had carved for him, and his favorite storybook. "I'll surprise Daddy," he whispered to himself as he set off on the long, familiar walk. But when he arrived, exhausted and covered in dust, Clarissa blocked the doorway like a fortress guard. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, her voice like ice. I came to see Dad," Liam stammered. "He's not here," she said, not moving an inch. "Leave. Please," Liam begged, tears welling up. "I'll be good. I'll just wait in his room." Before he could finish, Clarissa shoved him backward. Liam stumbled, his hand scraping against the rough porch wood. "You're no better than the help," she sneered. "Now take your filthy things and go." With trembling hands, Liam picked up his suitcases. "Where will I go?" he whispered, more to himself than to her. Clarissa's laugh was cruel. "Back to that old woman who actually wants you." And so, with shoulders slumped under the weight of his bags and his broken heart, little Liam began the long walk back down the road, unaware that fate had a different plan in store. The tires of the sleek black car crunched over the gravel road as Daniel Hartwell leaned back in his seat, a small smile playing on his lips. He'd cut his business trip short, something he almost never did, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to be home. "Almost there, James," he said to his chauffeur, tapping his fingers against the leather seat. "Can't wait to see Liam's face when he sees what I brought him." The trunk was filled with gifts, a handmade kite from Paris, a set of wooden soldiers from Germany, and the one he was most excited about, a storybook with golden pages, just like the ones Liam always begged him to read at bedtime. But as the car rounded the final bend, Daniel's smile vanished. There, in the middle of the sprawling green lawn, was his son. Little Liam, his Liam, was struggling to drag 2 suitcases twice his size across the grass. Even from a distance, Daniel could see the boy's shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "Stop the car!" Daniel's voice was raw with panic as he threw open the door before the vehicle had fully stopped. "Liam!" The boy froze. Slowly, as if afraid it might be a dream, he turned. And when their eyes met, Daniel saw it all. The fear, the hurt, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. "Daddy!" Liam's voice was so small it barely carried across the yard. Daniel was at his son's side in 3 long strides, kneeling in the dirt without a second thought. He cupped Liam's tear-streaked face, his own hands trembling. "What happened? Why are you out here with your suitcases?" Liam's breath hitched. "She said I don't belong here. That you didn't want me anymore." Every muscle in Daniel's body went rigid. He looked up at the house, and there, framed in the doorway like a painting of guilt, stood Clarissa. Her face had gone pale. Daniel stood slowly, the calm in his voice more terrifying than any shout. "Clarissa, explain. Now." She scrambled forward, her designer heels sinking into the grass. "Daniel, darling, I can explain." He just showed up unannounced, tracking mud everywhere. "He's my son," Daniel roared, the words tearing from his throat. "This is his home." The air crackled with tension. Even the birds had gone silent. Clarissa reached for his arm. "You're overreacting. I was just trying to." "Pack your things," Daniel said, each word a nail in the coffin of their relationship. "You're leaving. Today." As Clarissa sputtered protests, Daniel turned his back on her, literally and figuratively, and knelt before Liam again. The boy was crying in earnest now, his whole body shaking. Are you sending me back to Grandma's?" Daniel's heart shattered. He pulled Liam into his arms, holding him so tight he could feel the boy's rapid heartbeat against his own chest. "Listen to me," he whispered fiercely. "You will never be sent away again. This is your home. You are my son. And no one will ever make you feel unwelcome here again." Over Liam's shoulder, Daniel saw James the chauffeur step forward. "Sir," the older man said quietly, "I wanted to stop her but she threatened my job." Daniel nodded, his jaw clenched. "You've been with this family for 20 years, James. I know where your loyalty lies." The next hour passed in a blur. Clarissa, now sobbing dramatically, packed her designer luggage into a taxi. Daniel refused to let her take the car he'd bought her. As the cab pulled away, Liam peeked out from behind his father's legs. "Is she really gone?" Daniel placed a hand on his son's head. "Yes, son. She's gone. And she's never coming back." That evening, as the sun set over the rolling hills, Daniel built a fire in the great stone fireplace. He wrapped Liam in the softest blanket he could find and handed him a mug of hot cocoa, with extra marshmallows, just how he liked it. Gently, he took Liam's small hands in his own, wiping away the dirt from his scraped palms. "Tomorrow," Daniel said softly, "we're going to make this house feel like a real home." "A home." "Okay." Liam nodded, leaning against his father's side. For the first time in weeks, the weight on his small shoulders seemed to lift. In one earth-shattering moment, Daniel Hartwell made a choice that would change both their lives forever. But the real test wasn't in sending Clarissa away. It was in what came next. Because making a house a home takes more than just words. It takes action. The first rays of sunlight crept through the curtains of Liam's bedroom. His real bedroom, as the boy blinked awake. For a moment, he lay perfectly still, half afraid yesterday had been a dream. But then he heard the familiar creak of floorboards down the hall, followed by his father's off-key humming. A grin spread across Liam's face as he buried his nose in the fluffy new pillow. This was real. Downstairs, Daniel stood in the grand foyer, hands on his hips, studying the too perfect decor Clarissa had chosen. Everything was cold marble and stiff furniture, not a single toy or storybook in sight. "James," Daniel called to the chauffeur, who was now doubling as moral support, "let's make some changes." By noon, the formal living room became Liam's play area, complete with a tent fort. The do-not-touch china cabinet now held Liam's rock collection and favorite books. Daniel's study gained a small desk just Liam's size. When Liam timidly asked if he could put a drawing on the refrigerator, Daniel didn't just say yes. He bought magnets for the first time in his adult life. That evening, Daniel surprised Liam by cooking, or attempting to. Smoke alarms wailed as their spaghetti dinner turned into slightly charred pasta with ketchup, Liam's favorite, Daniel had discovered. They ate cross-legged on the kitchen floor, laughing as James snapped a photo of Daniel's sauce-smeared shirt. For the first time in years, the house echoed with belonging. As Daniel tucked Liam into bed that night, the boy suddenly grabbed his hand. "Daddy, will you really be here tomorrow?" Daniel's throat tightened. He knelt beside the bed eye to eye with his son. "Not just tomorrow. Every day after that too. I'm done with long trips. From now on, business can wait. You're my most important job." He pressed a kiss to Liam's forehead and lingered in the doorway, watching until the boy's breathing evened out. The same dirt road where Liam had once dragged his suitcases now bore the marks of bicycle tires and little footprints. Inside, the house was gloriously lived in. Crayon masterpieces adorned the walls, mismatched mugs filled the cabinets, and Daniel's prized Persian rug was now home to an ever-growing train set. On the porch swing, Liam, now freckled from summer sun, leaned against his father as they shared an ice cream cone. Nearby, James chuckled as he untangled a kite string. Daniel looked down at his son, at the way the setting sun turned his hair to gold, and knew no business deal, no amount of wealth, could ever compare to this. Sometimes life gives us second chances wrapped in small packages. In this case, a little boy with suitcases too big for him to carry. Daniel Hartwell could have chosen his empire. Instead, he chose what mattered most. Because at the end of the day, the only legacy worth building is one made of love. If this story touched your heart, imagine how many other children out there need someone to choose them. Maybe you know one. Maybe you are one. Wherever you are in life, remember, it's never too late for a new beginning.